Picture this: early 1981. David Mitchell, a Pentagon analyst, reports to the FBI. He believes Soviet intelligence is watching him. This paranoia will consume him. By September, his conviction leads to destruction. His family, his career, all gone. He ends up in a psychiatric institution, forever convinced he is being watched. The FBI investigates 17 reports over 7 months, finding nothing. David was fighting an enemy that existed only in his mind. A tragic battle. David Mitchell, 37 years old, worked at the Pentagon for 8 years. He grew up in Richmond, Virginia, son of an Army officer and a homemaker. He served as an Army logistics officer in South Korea during the Vietnam War. After his service in 1973, he was recruited by the Department of Defense. He analyzed procurement contracts and tracked equipment deliveries. His security clearance gave him access to sensitive supply chain data. Not a high-value target, but his position carried weight. Significant weight. He lived with his wife Karen and daughter Emily in Alexandria, Virginia. By every measure, the Mitchells were ordinary. A typical English family. They paid their bills, attended church, and maintained friendships with neighbors. David's colleagues described him as competent, reserved, and friendly. He did his job well, kept to himself, and never caused any problems. A model employee. Nothing in his life would have attracted foreign intelligence services, or so it seemed. In February of 1981, something shifted in his perception. That shift set in motion a cascade of events that would destroy everything. February 19th, 1981. David walks into the FBI office. He reports a national security concern to the agent at the reception desk. He believes he has been under systematic surveillance for the past 3 weeks. He noticed a dark sedan near his office. A man at the metro station. He received silent phone calls. Just silence, then a click. Imagine 5 times he noticed it. A man near the metro, always watching. 3 mornings in a row, the same spot. Avoiding eye contact, always. Then 2 silent calls at the office, just silence and a click. Mitchell, calm and methodical, reported everything he'd seen. His notebook detailed dates, times, descriptions. Neat, organized. Serious, not panicked. He knew how it sounded, but had to report. The agent thanked him, promising the Bureau would investigate. That afternoon, 2 counterintelligence agents took the case. 1981, Cold War tensions rose. Reagan took office. A harder line against the Soviets, renewed focus on intelligence. The KGB was active. The FBI worked to monitor Soviet operatives. A Pentagon employee's report couldn't be dismissed outright. For 10 days, agents surveilled Mitchell's home and workplace. They checked vehicles, reviewed call logs, found nothing. No surveillance, no suspicious vehicles, no matching individual. On March 1st, the agent informed Mitchell of the negative findings. He was told to report any further suspicious activity. Mitchell thanked the agent, but anxiety still gripped him. The car had been there, he'd seen it, documented it all. The man too, he'd seen him multiple times. It was real. If the FBI found nothing, it meant they were better at hiding. Karen noticed changes. His anxiety intensified, darker now. Checking locks, scanning the street, always searching. He stopped talking about work, afraid of who might be listening. He couldn't explain, just needed her trust. Things were happening. Karen didn't know what to make of it. It felt irrational. David stopped sharing work details, fearing eavesdroppers at every turn. He asked Karen for trust, hinting at unseen events he was managing. Karen struggled to understand David's behavior, so unlike his usual self. She considered seeking help, but hesitated, honoring David's request. She waited, hoping his anxieties would fade and normalcy would return. On March 18th, David reported a compromised phone line to the FBI. He described clicks, pops, and hissing sounds, suspecting a wiretap. A technician found no issues, but David insisted on Soviet involvement. The FBI opened a second investigation, coordinating with the phone company. They thoroughly examined the line, but found no wiretap or tampering. On March 24th, the FBI closed the case, finding no evidence. David filed 17 reports with the FBI over the next several months. On April 9th, he reported a home intrusion while the family was out. Inside, small items had been moved, creating a sense of unease. Karen and Emily denied moving anything, intensifying David's suspicion. David believed the intrusion was a deliberate warning, a sign he was watched. FBI agents found no forced entry or evidence of anyone being inside. On May 3rd, David reported tampering with his car's gas tank. He suspected a tracking device attempt near the fuel tank opening. A mechanic found no evidence of tampering or tracking devices. The mechanic found no scratches inconsistent with normal wear and tear. Imagine the weight of suspicion with no proof to ease the mind. Picture this, the relentless pursuit of truth amidst growing doubt. He walked through life, knowing that his next move could be watched. Imagine a man watched, yet no trace remained. Agents searched, finding nothing at all. On May 3rd, his car, he claimed, was touched. A loose cap scratches a tracker's quest. The mechanic sought, but found no device, no mark. Normal, where the evidence dark. May 21st, a man in grey, he spied near Coffee Grocery School, he tried to hide. The agents followed the police, inquired, but nothing suspicious could be acquired. June 14th, mail intercepted, it seemed. Cuts and glue, a plot or so he dreamed. Forensic tests, the FBI declared, showed postal handling nothing to be feared. Each report they sought the truth to find, but only normalcy filled their mind. He heard their words, but deep inside, the lack of proof his fears amplified. At the Pentagon, his change was clear, withdrawn, secretive, fueled by fear. No lunch with peers alone he'd dine, questions arose of a different kind. Security protocols access, he sought unfamiliar faces, his mind distraught. Colonel Barrett saw the stress he bore, attributed it to the job's harsh core. By July's heat, a line he crossed through trash, he searched, all sense was lost. A co-worker accused a foreign spy, his paranoia reached for the sky. Security was called a meeting, set to understand the growing threat. He spoke of surveillance systematic and deep secrets stolen, while others sleep. The officer questioned danger's call, he didn't know, but watchful stood tall. Time off was urged, a gentle plea, though not enforced the message free. Picture this, London 1665, as the Great Plague transforms a bustling city. In the winter of 1777, a young soldier's choice changed American heaven. She walked through the palace halls, knowing her words could start or end the war's squalls. Imagine a bustling English market traders shouting goods piled high, life's spark. Picture this. A traditional English home, warm hearth family gathered safe from Rome. Envision an English hospital ward, doctors and nurses tending hope's reward. She walked through the palace halls, knowing that her next words could start or prevent a war. Picture this, Mitchell with his supervisor and a security officer. He calmly explained his belief in systematic surveillance. He'd reported to the FBI, but they found no concrete evidence. The security officer asked if Mitchell felt he was in danger. Mitchell admitted he didn't know but was being careful. He was advised to take time off, but the implication was clear. Mitchell refused, believing it would signal weakness. He told Karen that leaving would give them an opening. Karen didn't understand who they were, and David was evasive. He said she needed to trust him. He was protecting the family. On July 28th, Mitchell reported a listening device. He'd found it behind an outlet cover in the living room. He'd photographed it with a camera for documentation. He asked agents to come immediately to examine and remove it. Mitchell showed them the component he'd found. It was a standard capacitor, a routine electrical component. The agent explained it was not a listening device. Mitchell stared, jaw-tight, hands clenched at his sides. He said the house was still compromised, devices better hidden. The agents exchanged a look, concerned about Mitchell. They suggested he talk to someone about his experiences. Mitchell insisted Soviet intelligence was underestimated. The agents noted his agitation and inability to accept facts. By August, Mitchell stopped going to work, calling in sick. Colonel Barrett placed him on administrative leave. The contradictory evidence pointed to a psychological issue. By August, David had stopped going to work altogether. Colonel Barrett contacted him after 2 weeks of absence. Mitchell cited security concerns and a need to resolve them. Barrett placed him on administrative leave for evaluation. At home, Mitchell covered windows with aluminum foil. He believed it would block electronic surveillance. Mitchell stopped using the telephone except for essential calls. He spoke in vague, coded language when he did use it. Additional locks were installed on every door. He secured them multiple times throughout the day. Mitchell began sleeping in different rooms each night. He kept a detailed log of everything around the house. The log documented cars, neighbors, and delivery trucks. To Mitchell, it was all part of a vast surveillance operation. Karen was terrified by what was happening to her husband. David refused to see a doctor, claiming he was thinking clearly. Karen called David's brother Michael for help. Michael urged David to seek help, but David refused. Michael told Karen to get David to a hospital. The hospital nurse said she couldn't force treatment. Karen knew David would never agree to see a psychiatrist. He believed he was under attack, a deeply rooted belief. On September 3rd, Mitchell filed his final report. He reported escalated surveillance and footsteps on the roof. He saw shadows and scratches near the electrical meter. His paranoia was deeply rooted. Nothing could shake it. He told the FBI agent the situation was critical. He detected escalated surveillance over the past week. Footsteps on the roof, shadows moving past windows. Scratches near the electrical meter, power tampering. A man watched his daughter's school during recess. Mitchell investigated, but the man was already gone. He believed an operation was imminent. He needed protection. The agent asked if he and his family were safe. Mitchell said he didn't know anymore, taking precautions. The agent tried to keep him on the line, but he hung up. The agent alerted his supervisor, recommended a welfare check. By the time the decision was made, it was too late. His behavior became erratic after that final call. He stopped sleeping, checking windows and walls. He talked to himself about patterns and signals. He stopped eating regular meals, subsisting on snacks. His appearance deteriorated, unshaven, stained clothes. On September 4th, he bought tools at a hardware store. He said he would find the proof himself. His wife felt a chill. Something terrible was about to happen. She had already tried everything to get him help. His paranoia intensified to levels that frightened him. He believed they were preparing to make their move. He needed to act quickly. Time was running out. Imagine Karen's desperation, calling hospitals, his brother, anything to help David. But nothing worked. David's paranoia grew even frightening himself. He believed the Soviets were closing in, ready to strike before he could expose them. On September 5th, he told Karen time was running out. He had to act fast. Karen barely slept, hearing David pace, mutter, move furniture all night. By morning, she was exhausted and terrified. David would search the house. Karen decided to take Emily out to protect her from what might happen. Karen left at 10 in the morning. David was in the garage, tools laid out. She asked if he was okay. He was calm, eerily, so as if he'd made a decision. Karen felt uneasy, leaving him alone. She returned 3 hours later. At 1:15 in the afternoon, she arrived home. The door was ajar. Alarm bells rang in her mind. David was obsessive about locking the door. She pushed it open, called out for David. No response. She stepped inside. What she saw made her stop breathing. The living room was unrecognizable. The walls were torn apart, drywall ripped away, studs exposed. Wiring hung loose, some pulled free, some dangling in loops. The ceiling was partially demolished, insulation and ductwork revealed. White dust covered everything, the furniture, the floor, the windows. The couch was dragged away, revealing a gaping cavity in the wall. Light fixtures torn out, leaving exposed electrical boxes and loose wires. Baseboards pried off sections of carpet, pulled up, revealing the subfloor. Karen walked through the living room in a dazed shoes, crunching on debris. She moved into the dining room and found the same devastation. The china cabinet, ripped out chandelier on the table, covered in plaster. Imagine a woman, her breath catching in shallow gasps, entering her dining room. The china cabinet, once proudly built in, now a raw hole in the wall. Picture this, a chandelier lying broken on a table covered in plaster dust. The kitchen, a scene of utter chaos, was far worse than the dining room. Imagine cabinet doors hanging open, their contents strewn across the floor. The wall behind the sink, torn open, exposing pipes and wiring. Backsplash tiles pried off, leaving adhesive residue and broken fragments. The refrigerator pulled from the wall, the drywall demolished behind it. Karen's hands were shaking as fear gripped her. Her heart pounded fast. She called David's name, her voice cracking with desperation. From upstairs, she heard movement, a sound that made her climb slowly. The hallway upstairs, torn apart, family photos, scattered and broken. Walls marked with holes, evidence of David's rage and desperation. She moved toward the master bedroom, pushing open the door with trepidation. David in the center of the room, surrounded by utter destruction. Walls stripped to the studs, a closet emptied, clothes piled on the bed. The flooring torn up, exposing the subfloor beneath. Covered in plaster dust, hair, wild eyes, bloodshot, her husband. He held a crowbar and a flashlight, his clothes filthy and torn. His hands were bleeding raw and red, but he seemed not to care. His face triumph, mixed with terror, vindication, and desperation. He said he'd found them, the microphones, the transmitters in the walls. He pointed to scratches, claiming they were drill holes for surveillance. He insisted a wire wasn't part of the house, but for surveillance devices. Karen saw just a wire, part of the electrical system, nothing sinister. She understood that David was gone, not physically, but mentally. Imagine a quiet home, its electrical system unremarkable, holding no dark secrets. She noticed scratches, perhaps from construction or the house settling over time. She saw her husband, his eyes wild, his hands bleeding, his mind lost. He had crossed a threshold, a point of no return lost within his mind. She tried to reason, to tell him there was nothing there, but he wouldn't listen. His voice rose, insisting they had taken the equipment, hidden the evidence. He claimed the drill holes, the scratches, the extra wiring were proof. She approached him cautiously, like a wounded animal offering help. She pleaded for him to seek medical help, to go to the hospital. His triumph turned to suspicion. He accused her of being influenced. He believed she was trying to make him think he was losing his mind. Tears streamed down her face as she insisted on her love and desire to help. He backed away, convinced she was trying to stop his search for truth. He wouldn't give up, there had to be more, he just hadn't found it yet. He smashed the crowbar into the wall, sending drywall flying across the room. She flinched, tears streaming, then ran downstairs to call for help. She dialed 911 with shaking hands, desperate for assistance. Police and paramedics arrived within 10 minutes, a beacon of hope. They found him tearing at the walls, still searching for non-existent evidence. It took 3 officers to restrain him, fueled by manic strength. He shouted about mistakes, needing more time to find the truth. Handcuffed and taken away, his shouts echoed in the quiet street. She watched as her husband was driven away, a tragic end to their life. He was admitted to St. Elizabeth's Hospital on September 6, 1981. Diagnosed with acute paranoid schizophrenia, a devastating mental illness. His break from reality was profound, potentially irreversible, a life forever changed. Imagine a man convinced he's persecuted his mind, ensnared by unseen forces. Psychiatrists sought to understand, but his grip on reality was fading fast. He spoke of FBI investigations, thwarted by Soviet interference, a tale of delusion. His home's destruction, he claimed, was necessary evidence removed by unseen agents. When doubt was cast, he turned hostile, accusing the staff of conspiracy. His condition worsened, his speech fragmented, haunted by watchers and shadows. He saw Soviet agents in fellow patients, experiments in medical procedures. He refused food fearing poison, refused sleep fearing attack. Medications failed, his paranoia deepened, a descent into darkness. By November, he was in a secure wing, a danger to himself and others. He attacked a staff member out of terror, mistaking help for harm. Confined to a padded room, he paced, muttered, and shouted at phantoms. He scratched at walls, convinced of hidden devices, blocking out coded messages. In December, his wife and daughter visited, hoping for a breakthrough. Restrained and sedated, he looked at them with empty eyes. A stranger. His daughter cried, his wife carried her out, their hearts breaking. The doctors offered a grim prognosis. Severe, treatment-resistant schizophrenia. Long-term care was recommended, a future without his return. In January 1982, hospitalization was court-ordered, supported by his wife. She signed the papers, accepting a life forever altered. She drove home to the ruined house, a monument to his broken mind. Slowly, she tried to repair the damage, both physical and emotional. She cried for hours, mourning the man she had lost forever. The man she married, the man named David, no longer existed. David, a name that echoed with the weight of what was and what could never be again. A tragic tale of a mind lost to the shadows. Imagine a doctor delivering grim news. Recovery was unlikely. Institutional care was advised. David wouldn't return home. Karen supported it, signing the papers with a heavy heart. She returned to the destroyed house, a monument to loss. She mourned the man, he was now lost to a cruel illness. David spent 18 years at St. Elizabeth's secure wing. He lived in a nightmare, convinced of Soviet surveillance. In 1984, Karen divorced him out of necessity. She remarried in 1988, seeking a new life. Emily distanced herself, building a life far removed. Neither visited David after 1981's attempt. David died in 2000, aged 56, from pneumonia. He lived in terror, his mind fractured beyond repair. A small funeral was held, only Karen and Emily mourned. His obituary omitted the truth, focusing only on his service.